One thing that we were talking about was the idea that managed burns reduce the likelihood of wildfires. And that point was raised in the debate that we had, but I've seen research that suggests that the relationship between managed burns and wildfires is actually not quite as clear cut as that. And it'd be interesting to get your view on you mentioned a managed burn getting out of control and becoming a wildfire. So, or a man-made fire, I guess is another way of saying it. What's your kind of view on the relationship? Do you think that they are preventative or cause more trouble?
To some extent, it comes back to the fact that moorland is a mixed landscape. It's different habitats. So on the areas which are upland heath, you could see that the heather will develop to an extent that it develops a fuel load after time. Whereas on a peatland system, the whole idea is that the sphagnum is growing so vigorously that the heather never has time to develop the sort of leggy fuel load state. It stays as a young, vigorous set of shoots growing through and competing against the sphagnum layer. So you never really develop a big fuel load. And that's why the majority of really good condition peatland systems are actually very difficult to burn. But, as I say, that we have an issue with something like 80% of our peatlands not in good condition. So, yes, for a period of time, it may be that the heather will grow more vigorously if we don't burn it. But actually, by a number of different interventions, we can even slow that down. For example, Moors for the Future, they've been planting plugs of bog moss across the bare peat areas. And what we've found is that in only 4 or 5 years, these plugs can form their own continuous sphagnum carpet, which then begins to inhibit coluna growth. And so you don't get the fuel load anymore. The difficulty is if we say, oh, we've got to burn to keep the fuel load low, then what happens is you end up on a treadmill where you constantly have to burn. And every time you burn, you're diminishing the benefits of the peatland. You're encouraging poor water quality, you're releasing carbon from the peat, you're diminishing biodiversity. So although you might feel as though you're keeping things in a steady state, actually what you're doing is you're simply ensuring that over time, the entire system is degrading.
I mean, I think, that's something I touched on at the end of the debate. I think, it's quite clear from the work that you've been doing that, clearly healthy moorlands don't need burning because they don't have that load, as you say.